Upon review of the occurrence, it was determined that there were additional steps that could be taken to advance the investigation. As a result, the investigation was reopened and a team of investigators were assigned.
I want to extend, on behalf of the London Police Service, my sincerest apology to the victim, to her family, for the amount of time that it has taken to reach this point.
A couple of voices from the London, Ontario Police Department. That right there, Tai Trong, the Chief of Police. You also heard from Detective Sergeant Catherine Dan, explaining why it's taken 6 years to lay sexual assault charges against 5 former members of Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey Team. Let's talk a little bit more about this and the legal ramifications of what's happening here. Ari Goldkind joins us, criminal defense lawyer and legal analyst. Ari, welcome back to the program.
Good to be on with you, Elias.
I know you came on the show. We talked about this when this story initially broke a while back, and there's so many facets of this story. But maybe how we should start today, if you could explain what's happening here, in your opinion, that leads to 6 years later charges being found when 6 years ago charges were not found.
Sure, and let's start with one of the stupidest words of the 21st century called intersectionality. A word that when I say it makes me want to, almost throw up. But here's a perfect example in the real world of intersectionality. Let's bring your listeners right into what actually happens. An allegation gets called to the police in 2018 from the complainant EM and or her mother. Right away, police start investigating. There are videos involved that your listeners may recall. There are 2 specific videos in the hands of the police. The police in London, and this is important, Elias, assign a sexual assault investigation team to the case. Now, why is that important? Prior to Jean Gomeshi, a name that many Canadians have forgotten but will remember, but
that was the CBC radio host, right? For those,
that is very good. The CBC radio host who was accused of various and sundry misdeeds sexually by 3 or 4 women, who were shown in a courtroom in Toronto that I sat in to be, let's just say, not truth tellers. If I could put it gently, do not offend your delicate audience. Let's move forward. As a result of Gomeshi, in an article in the Globe and Mail called Unfounded, police forces prior to that Globe and Mail story and Jean Gomeshi would exercise some discretion. They'd look at an accusation and they'd say, that's never going to stand up in court, or that doesn't make any sense, or that didn't happen, and there's no reasonable grounds to lay a charge. After that story, Elias, the rules were changed that police would almost charge anybody with anything. I could charge Elias with sexually assaulting me right now over the airwaves. I'm in a different city than you, but you're getting charged. Now, I say that with some levity, but people get the point. In 2019, a decision is made to close the file, not leave it open as a cold case to be solved, but to close the file and not lay charges. Then, and I'm doing this quick, Elias, because of time, then you'll recall that there's a lawsuit that becomes public through Hockey Canada and a fund they have where she sued for millions of dollars, this complainant EM. Remember, no police charges, no crime. She sues, gets a big fat check. It goes right to Parliament. And everybody goes ballistic that how could Hockey Canada, with their fees that, players have to pay and all of that, how can they have this fund to pay these uninsurable liabilities? Everybody clutches their pearls. People get hauled up to the House of Commons, to the Parliament. All the Hockey Canada executives scurry away like cowards, when the bottom line, and I can tell you, Elias, is that the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, Major League Lacrosse, and every major sports team in Europe, which I don't watch, they all have funds to pay the same thing. There's tremendous, tremendous pressure now that goes out to the London police. And the London police feel tremendous pressure. The former, now retired police chief from London, Elias, does a press conference and says, we've heard you, we've heard the call, we feel the pressure, and we're going to reopen this investigation and find some new investigative avenues to pursue. Now there's new charges, and to end my answer, they called this ridiculous, stupid press conference yesterday that I can assure you was a colossal nothing burger. It should never have been called. It made the London police look terrible. And the only question that every single journalist throughout North America and Europe wanted to ask and know is what changed between 2019 and 2024. And naturally, absolutely naturally, that was the one question they refused to answer. So it was basically we're going to criticize ourselves. We're going to use all the language of 2024 in terms of this, that, and the other. Look, maybe these men are guilty. Maybe they are. But maybe they should also be presumed to be innocent. That's how it came to be. And as I started my answer to you, Elias, on intersectionality, this is the clearest case of the intersection of culture, politics, and the law that I think we'll probably see this year or at least in the next few years in Canada.
And, on the press conference there, you're very right. There's, it's funny when you juxtapose a U.S. press conference versus a Canadian press conference from police officials. In the U.S., they're able to answer so many more questions. And here, whether it's a culture of secrecy or other rules, they just seemingly can't answer some of these questions.
So that's such a smart point. I'm sure you're heading up to a break, so I'll try and be quick here. But that's such a smart point that I didn't know you would say. I will say this, Elias, to your listeners, particularly in Quebec. Our system treats people and potential jurors as morons. We don't have transparency. We have publication bans on everything, even though when a jury is paneled, because it's only to protect the jury, Elias. It's not about anything else. Every jury hears things and are told by judges, even bad things. You only listen to the evidence in court. Anything you've heard outside is just noise. In the United States, to your point, they don't have these publication bans 9 times out of 10. Sunlight and transparency is the best antiseptic. And I believe that one of the reasons there's a crisis of confidence in our justice system, one of them, there are many, is because the public, particularly when it comes to bail or charges or why somebody is released who's just charged with beheading somebody, you're not allowed to know. Sunlight is always the best antiseptic. And in the States, you would have a press conference the day after, Elias, and the police chiefs would answer every single question Elias can come up with.
Let me quickly ask you this to wrap up here. And let's put this specific case aside. But I want to ask you from your legal experience, in matters where multiple people, a group of men are charged with a group act like this, in your experience, does one member usually crack and admit everything to police if something was done wrong? Does it make a case like this easier or harder for police?
I don't think any of these players will crack. I will be surprised if they do. That's not a police thin blue line. They're all part of hockey, this, that, and the other. Now, I answer that without knowing if there are new things that have been discovered. I'll give you an example, Elias, quickly. If there's a text message between the player in the room to 3 of his buddies that says, she's drunk as a skunk, the time is now, she basically can't function, come take advantage of her, I'm using simple words.
Yeah.
These men are going down, and they should go down. But if there isn't a smoking gun like that, there isn't that new thing that we're all talking about, then this is going to be, I think, 5 players united with 5 skillful defense lawyers. I think these will be very difficult charges to prove, except, of course, Elias, as I said, if there's some new piece of information or a text message or a video that's a bombshell. Other than that, I don't think one will crack.
Ari, always a pleasure talking legal affairs with you. Thanks so much.
Good to talk to you.
Ari Goldkind, criminal defense lawyer and legal analyst.